Hey YouTube, this is Scarecrow Kaiser. I'm going to be doing a deck profile here on my Eradicator Tempest Bolt Dragon. So yeah, um, this is not like my necessarily preferred version to play of Narukami, but it's still a very fun, very I think competitive build. It's not as competitive I think as Descendant, but most of us already know that, so let's get started. Starting Vanguard, I'm using the Jin. He's your typical clone of when he boosts someone with Limit Break and it hits, he moves to the soul and draws one. The reason I chose this guy is because he gets out of the way and without doing a minus to do it. So, and he does it without a counterblast. So this deck is very counterblast heavy, using lots of counterblasts like in a single shot from Tempest Bolt. So a guy that doesn't like counterblast is helpful, as well as he gets off the field, so that next turn if you Tempest Bolt you're not killing your own card. For the triggers, 8 crit, 4 draw, 4 heal, the standard trigger lineup for most decks in the game. I don't really like a lot of draws in this build. I don't see how they particularly help. I feel like crits, especially with Tempest Bolt Dragon who blows up the field and is huge by himself, are a lot more pressuring. So yeah, that's what I've got to say about that. For the grade 1s, we got 4 Demolition Dragon, our 10k beater. In this deck you don't want to commit to the field very much, so cards that are beefy by themselves like him, they do a lot. I can't really see running really any kind of Eradicator deck that wouldn't really run like 3 or 4 of this card. It's just too good. Then we have our 4 perfect guards. They're perfect guards. I don't need to say more than that. If you're not running 4 Sentinels in your deck, there's something really questioning you should do about yourself. Sentinels are limited to 4 for a reason. They're that good. I prefer perfect guards like on most decks, but so yeah. And then next I got for Steel Blood. He doesn't combo as much with the Tempest Bolt. However, you're not always going straight to Tempest Bolt. You have other effects and break rides and things you can be doing up until that point. So in the meantime, he's still a good card up until the point where you use Tempest Bolt and use his Limit Break. And he's still a 7k body. And of the choices I have to run, I still like running 4 of this, even though it isn't quite combo with the Tempest Bolt. You don't necessarily need to combo everything. You can just still put pressure up until the point you use Tempest Bolt, so that's why I like him. Then for our last grade 1, we got 2 Rising Phoenix. He's not an Eradicator, but he's your typical call Soul Blast 2 and draw 1. This deck has plenty of soul to spare, and after Tempest Bolt blows up your field and theirs, you can play the Rising Phoenix and get some cards back if you blow up some of your own. So for our grade 2 lineup, we got 4 Spark Rain Dragon. Same thing with Demolition Dragon. This card is beefy by itself. It can swing at an 11 by itself. It can even swing at an MLB by itself. So the fact that I can drop this one card and it can still do things, it doesn't need like a bunch of full field to be effective, which obviously in relation to Tempest Bolt, it's a good card. Then we got 4 Zuitans. When he hits, he's your unflipper if you soul charge 1. Very good in this deck, very pressuring. Your opponent, like Tempest Bolt Dragon, is devastating and effect enough if he this clears out your opponent's field, and you had like only a few cards you lost, if any. Like that's really devastating. But to like let Zutan hit afterward, unflip damage, and make Tempest Bolt live a second time, that's just too much for most people to handle. And even if they can stop Zutan, he's still applying that pressure and forcing the guard when they wouldn't necessarily want to. Like if they're at 4 and he's your last attack of the turn, they don't need to block it. They don't even want to block it. But and then for our last grade 2, we got 3 Chos. He's our call, move a guy, blow up a front row. Again, he helps manage your own field, moving resources off your field so that you don't have to blow up your own cards while still poking at the opponent. And then for our grade 3s, for our break ride, we're doing it's not even that a deck necessarily needs a break ride. It's just what we have for a break ride is Vowing Sword. The reason I choose Vowing Sword over Ignition Dragon is because he's not a counterblast. In almost every other Eradicator deck I would ever play, I would probably play Ignition. But in this build, I like Vowing Sword more because he's not a counterblast. So that saves like room for Tempest Bolt. Yeah. And then we got 4 Tempest Bolts. Heart of the deck. He just eradicates like both fields and is huge all the time. Like he doesn't even, most games you don't even need a booster behind him. He's just so big by powering up all the empty zones. He doesn't necessarily combo with the Vowing Sword here. It's just that Vowing Sword doesn't counterblast. As far as our other grade 3 options, there's not a lot of other grade 3s that are good partners for Tempest Bolt. So that's why we have that. So that's it for this deck profile. Thank you for watching.